welcome to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. I am back, which means Joe Brown doesn't get to have a, what was it, like the J round table? Got Jake and Justin over here.
Triple J, shout outs to Jeremy. Yeah.
No, well, I don't know why you're shouting out Jeremy. Whatever.
That's his online tag. Is Triple J.
Jeremy wasn't here.
I know, but you know.
All right, chalked on podcast start already. But it's Sierra and Joe, and yeah, how are we feeling today? Despite the fact that we already butchered the intro of our podcast.
No, we're doing great. Everything's going great. We got, exciting times upon us this weekend with a new regulation, new format, and a regional tournament to talk about. But honestly, we had a lot of fun last week, but we did miss you. It was fun, but we would have liked, it would have been cool if we had like a 4-person roundtable, like that one time we had Ashton and Chup on with like the 4-person event before LAIC. Maybe we gotta do that more often,
Wasn't it Ashton and Beck?
No, wasn't it Chup? Didn't Chup come on like two weeks in a row or something like that? Am I crazy?
He was not on the. He wasn't on the 4 episode.
No. James came on twice, right? James won Peoria by himself, and then he came on with Ashton for LAIC. Right?
It is way too. It is way too late at night to be asking these questions. All right,
we could just check the YouTube, but I don't think it's worth it.
This is why you don't record the podcast after the sun has gone down, because
yes,
apparently the lack of caffeine is not doing either of us any favors.
But basically, what I wanted to say was we wanted to have you there last week, but we couldn't because you were off on new adventures. So you gotta let me know. You gotta let the audience know how everything went with your first Rainbow Six broadcast last week.
Yeah, so anyone who didn't hear, I missed last week's episode because I got brought on for Rainbow Six Siege. So the announcement of it was actually way back because it was an overall announcement for the entire Stage 1. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it on until the last chance qualifiers, but it was the first time that I ever got to be involved with Rainbow Six. And it went so awesome. It was so much fun. The talent team was absolutely incredible. The production was absolutely incredible. Like, it was my birthday as well. April 22nd was my birthday, and it was my first day on this Rainbow Six broadcast, and I've never hosted Rainbow Six before, and I was so nervous. I literally woke up and I was at my computer doing like I had studied so much, and I'm like, I gotta do so much more. Like, I'm not ready, and spent the entire day doing that, and it just went so good. So it was, overall, because the broadcast went well, it was a good birthday. I had 3 days of that in a row. It did mean I had to miss the podcast. Like, I know there was a time where, like, you were like, oh, well, can't you just do it after or before? And it was like, no, like, I was in call for, like, our 6 starting at, like, 3:30, and I wasn't out till, like, midnight. And then I was right to bed, and then I woke up the next day and was back at it for notes to get ready for the next day. There was no chance I was making it.
No, for sure. It's understandable, obviously. Like, but it was a good, what's the word? It was a good, like, test case for the future of the podcast, right? Because, obviously, there could be times where I'm not available for a week. So it's obviously, of course, we want the 2 of us together and any guests we can have every week. But sometimes if emergencies come up or just flat out scheduling conflicts, like, are too difficult to deal with, it shows that the show can survive, the podcast can survive if one of the co-hosts has to take one of the weeks off.
I mean, I just have to thank Justin and Jake, both repeat guests, coming back on, because I mean, if people weren't willing to step in and just kind of, just to yap with you for a couple of hours, like, it wouldn't be a conversation, right? We would just have to skip like the whole week. So massive shout outs to them. It's because people are willing to come and chat, that able to take a week off if needed to. I think I'm the only one who's actually taken podcast episodes off. You haven't missed one yet.
Not yet. Yeah. I will, but yeah.
Oh, one day. But
yeah.
No, we've chatted so much about like why we've been gone. We have so much to talk about this episode. I think the big Caparaja in the room. Oh, that's the name of the big elephant, right?
The big elephant, yeah.
The big elephant in the room. We got to talk about the Indy talent announcement. So you will not be at Indy. I will be at Indy. I'll be at hosting. But there was definitely a surprise that came out on the talent announcement for any broadcast watchers out there.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I think most people are going to be pretty excited about this, that Wolf is going to be behind the desk instead of playing round 9 on stream and round 14 on stream to get into Top Cut like he does every event. He's going to be casting those matches. I think it's so exciting. Everybody loves Wolf. He's already got a bazillion championship points to his name, right? So it's not like he's trying to hit the CP threshold for Worlds or anything. And we know he's got a brilliant mind. He's incredibly entertaining as well as a personality and a Pokemon broadcaster. So I'm super excited about it. I know Twitch chat, like, they're not gonna have to ask where's Wolfie because he's gonna be there the whole time.
They'll be asking that when he's not casting. Like he's trying to enjoy his lunch. It's like, where's Wolf? Need him back here. Like the common Twitch chat moments, like, oh, heard he went to jail, you know, like he got escorted off the premise, all that. But no, it'll be really exciting. I like, because we get to hear about the talent things like a little ways back, obviously, because like planning, like we gotta, you know what's going on in their lives. And I am so incredibly hyped. I think first off, like, I just being able to bring Wolf on the broadcast, I think it can be a little odd sometimes when a player steps into the broadcast role because you don't necessarily know how to broadcast. So someone could be so intelligent at the game, but the way they speak about it, it doesn't actually sound good for air. But considering Wolf's YouTube experience on top of that, and like for the interviews and everything, he's very well spoken. I think it'll translate quite well. So I'm actually, like, I'm really excited to see how it's going to go down and to hear it. I think it's also just going to hit like record views for the Twitch stream. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's really, really cool. And in other esports, it's actually really common to bring on like guest analysts that are top players for events that they're not playing at, bring them on to like the desk, bring them on for a cast. So that's like another step forward for Pokemon becoming like real, like, it's already like really sport, but you know what I mean? Like League level, Valorant level, CS level. So it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the first thing I think of. Like, obviously it's different where he's working the whole weekend instead of like a guest match. But like, yeah, I watch League all the time. We any League of Legends fans, MSI is going on right now. But like, you'll have, let's say, a player from Cloud9 and they played earlier in the day, and then the fourth game of the day is like Team Liquid versus FlyQuest, and they'll bring that Cloud9 player on as the third analyst in the game. And like, not only do they have the analysis of being a current pro player, knowing the meta, and knowing what the best plays and champions or whatever are, but they also have the information of practicing against these other teams and playing competitively against these other professional players and stuff, so they can bring that extra level of insight that casters can't always obtain, because we're not like, you're not playing in the LCS if you're casting LCS, right? Like you can't do both at the same time. So I think it's gonna be great to see the level of insight that Wolf can bring in, and like it's arguably, you couldn't have asked for a better time to do it, since Wolf just won 2 regionals in the last 3 months in top 16 DUIC, and didn't he win the first Regulation G online tournament on his YouTube or whatever? Like, what was that, last week? He won a Reg G event on YouTube.
I think, I didn't see it on YouTube, but I think I saw a post about it.
Right. So this is this is striking while the iron's hot, like bringing Wolf on at the exact right moment, because it's like, he's playing the best he's ever played right now.
And now it's just like, all right, well, we'll give everyone else a chance. We'll put you on the casting desk.
Oh my god! Imagine you're gonna be hosting it. You're gonna have to talk in the lounge in the regional championship graphic with Wolf's face on there twice, and Wolf is going to be like in that chair.
Because like I already know like the rotation of things. I won't leak caster rotation, but like I thought we don't show that graphic on day 2, which is when I would have Wolf in the lounge.
I thought we show it once a day. I could be wrong. I thought we show it No, am I wrong? I don't remember.
But either way,
it's gonna be funny that he's working the event, but he's also like, his face is on there 2 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If it is on for day 2, like that graphic, I think it'd be really funny. I'm just like, you know what? Like I could speak of this, but like I got one of the champs right here, so like go for it. I don't know. It'll be funny, but it'll be really cool. I think I'm excited for Indy just in general. Being able to not have to worry about Reg G, but still work the event. I still have to worry about it, but like not to the same level as like the others have to worry about it. I get to worry about like the segments that I'm doing and stuff, right? A little bit of a different prep role. So I think it'll be fun to be able to experience Reg G in the role that I'm at instead of being thrown right into like the havoc of it all.
Yeah, I think it should be an exciting time. I'm a little bummed. Obviously, I'm not going to be there. I was considering it because like Indy is only like an hour and 40-minute flight or something, so it's really not that far. But when I went to look for the flight, so like, oh, it's a new regulation, you know, I can play, like it could be, but I don't get many times to play, you know. And I look, and flights were like $800 for an hour and a half flight. So I was like,
they
yeah,
were
no,
surprisingly expensive.
so maybe something else is going on in Indy the same weekend. I know it's a big convention town, it's a big like destination town. Out there, so there's a lot of things always going on in Indy, but like too rich for my blood. I'll be watching at home.
Yeah, I always like to take a second when like looking at like a flight to kind of eye up like, oh, okay, how is this price in comparison to others? And like I was pretty surprised at Indy in comparison to like how far out you can go, because like Indy's not too far from me either, right? And looking at like how short the flight is in comparison to the cost, it's like I could go like out to Vancouver for a fraction of this at the same weekend.
Exactly.
So I was looking
at other flights that, you know, I'm planning on stuff, and like I can go way further out west than Indy for literally half the price. So just I don't know, must have been a bad timing or something for that weekend why it's so expensive.
You should have looked at the flying into Chicago and then driving down. That's like the player hack, right? As long as you can find someone who has an open seat in their car.
Well, why didn't we? I should have asked you this like 3 weeks ago. I didn't even think about it.
I just don't. How do you not know the hack? Like that's just like.
Well, because I think of the Chicago hack for Peoria. I don't think of the Chicago hack for Indy.
Do you not see like the people posting on Twitter like anybody driving down to Indy from Chicago have an extra space? So that's all I've seen on my Twitter the last few weeks. Kind of tapered off this week and like a little bit last week because obviously at this point, if you don't have a ride, you're kind of done. But like a couple weeks ago, like I saw a lot of that. Missed out.
Yeah, missed opportunity. It's fine. I'll be watching at home. I'll be typing "Where's Wolfie" in chat. You know.
There you go. And then he'll pop on stream about to like cast the game, and he'll be like, oh, "Where's Wolfie?
Yeah,
I see him right there. He's right there on my television." Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Reg G though, because you're saying like, yeah, it would have been exciting to hop in on the first Reg G tournament. I never enjoy the first tournament of a new regulation. I don't adapt well to new regulations, and I don't know. This one definitely seems like a doozy. I know y'all talked a lot about Reg G last week. I think my kind of thoughts on it is so far it seems very like rock, paper, scissors, and I just don't like that. Maybe I'm just not hitting like the right matchups to where I'm thinking things are a little bit more even. Maybe it's just low ladder struggles, you know, but I'm not vibing with this as much as I have past formats so far.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. We definitely want your take on it since we didn't get to hear you last week, but like the RPS factor of it, like sometimes it feels too simplified to say that because, of course, everything is rock, paper, scissors in Pokemon because water beats fire, which beats grass, which beats ground, which beats electric, you know, like, so we all understand how the game works. But, like, this format specifically, I agree with you that sometimes certain games are decided, like, they're decided on what tools you have or don't have available more than like who is playing the game better. If you understand what I'm saying, like some matches are decided on if you have wide guard or not. And some matches are decided on like if you have the right Terra or not. Like, and so it's like it's not even. It feels. I should say. I shouldn't be so absolute about it. It feels as if that's the case sometimes, and it's kind of frustrating when you're playing online and you're trying to build a team. And I got the sauce. I'm gonna go for it, and then it's like, I lost this game just because of how just because of the restriction of the format. Because if I could put another restricted next to my Calyrex Ice Rider, I'd feel a lot more confident right now. But I'm not allowed to, right? So I'm definitely in the same school as you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the restricteds feel so strong to where it just kind of sucks. At least when it's a double restricted format, you get one to kind of offset the weaknesses of the other. So then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you have the tool. You might bring both restricted to a match. You might only bring one, but at least you had something. Whereas it kind of feels bad to drop your restricted because they're so strong this like right now, but also like if your restricted just doesn't match up well, then like well then you just what's the point of bringing it? Because then it's a dead slot. Like I don't know. Maybe like the beginnings of formats tend to be very like aggressive heavy anyways, so I'm not going to be too absolute on I don't like it like quite yet. I'll wait until after Indy. I'll wait till a couple weeks after Indy, kind of like my thoughts like when we have our conversation going into LA. You know, that's kind of when I'll have a more solid opinion. But like right now, I also just like, I hate the horses. I'm not gonna lie, I hate the horses. Like the first team I was using was a ground on team, and I miss like double press displays all the time. And you're telling me the horses get a move that is just as powerful, 100% accuracy, gets a special attack
Boost
or an
there, yep.
attack boost. Like it's stupid.
Yeah, I it's really funny because I built a shadow or a Calrex Ice Rider team because I'm always trying to make Trick Room work, and like some matches it doesn't feel fair in both ways. Like it's not a balanced Pokemon, either Shadow or Ice Rider, in the sense of it like it's way too strong and also very limiting at the same time. Like Calrex Ice Rider is straight up a Glacial Lance bot. You just click Glacial Lance, and if they have Wide Guard, you just lose. Because what is your 20% stomping tantrum going to do into the Mienshao with wide guard or whatever? You know what I mean? Like so, and then you're in. It's like usually Glacial Lance, stomping tantrum, Trick Room Protect or something like that. Like that's all you got. Oh, the other team has like two steel types and a water type and wide guard. Like you literally can't play the game like, with your Ice Rider, and I feel the same way with Shadow Rider too. The same like because of how limiting, especially if your set is Expanding Force and Astral Barrage and I don't know, something else protect. Like Wide Guard literally destroys you. Like you cannot click an attack in that. So like these two Pokemon are so polarizing and dynamic in the sense that like they are so overwhelmingly powerful and absolute dog water useless at the same time. Depending, it's like really tough to understand.
I just hate how so far with the format, your hand is being forced in how you
Yes,
have to build the team. So if you're running Cali Ice, you have to have this Glacial Lance. And Cali Shadow, it has to be, whatever the Shadow one, the Astral
Astral
Barrage.
Barrage.
If you don't want to get bodied by the horses, like we're looking at the Wide Guard Pokemon, the Mienshao, looking at the Pelipper. Like you're forced in certain ways to be making the Pokemon, and I don't like that. I get like in past formats, like, oh my god, Fluttermane, it's so strong, but there was still some nuance, right? It was like, hey, you can have your booster speed and have your icy wind, or you can have your specs and give up protect, or you can have your substitute, you can have your taunt, you can have your like you had options for like your third, fourth move. And right now with Reg G, it's just like, oh, okay, well, I need a way to make sure like I'm not getting bodied by this, and I need this, and I need this, and it's all of a sudden, okay, well, I need to use this Pokemon now. Okay, well, I need it to have these. Like I don't know. It's never I don't feel so far that I ever am including something because I want it. It's just because like I need it to not absolutely get bodied right now.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the Pokemon like on the team is like, well, I have to have Farigiraf. It's not that I want Farigiraf on this Trick Room team, right? Like, because they could, you could try Porygon 2 or Cresselia or Sinistra or like a plethora of other Trick Room setters, but like it's actively worse. Like you're actually handicapping yourself more than if you just put Farigiraf in that slot like you have to, because then Farigiraf stops the fake out and they can't fake out your Trick Room, and it stops the Grassy Glide and it stops, the Aqua Jets and whatever. So it's like when I was making the team, like I started Calyrex Ice Rider, right? And I'm literally like 5 Pokemon deep without making a decision. Because like I have to have this, I have to have this, I have to, I have to have Fergrap. Well, I have to have Hitmontop because my fire slot was something else. So I don't want Incineroar on there, so I have to put Hitmontop as my Intimidator with Fake Out and Wide Guard and Helping Hand. Like it feels like kind of like paint by numbers. Like some of the if you look through the Limitless teams, like some of them literally are like number 1 into number 2 into number 3 into number 4, like, and it's like you didn't even make a decision in that team building process.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the tour results, because it's, I don't know, and I'm talking about like, things like feel kind of, forced and whatnot. It's also crazy to say, considering how far out there some of these teams are right now, because, it's the beginning of the format, so everything goes. I think we'll talk about not even just like the tours, but the most infamous teams so far when we're talking about odd things popping up at the beginning of the format, which is the Dewgong Gloom team that's been popping up on Twitter, and even got an article in .esports about
That's so
which
awesome.
is hilarious.
Regulation G, it's Regulation Gloom, baby. Everybody get ready for Gloom to top cut Indy. I don't think that's gonna happen, obviously. But I mean, hey, they took down Paul Chua. Paul Chua tweeted he got bodied by this Gloom Dugong Armorers team.
Oh my god, this cracks me up so much, because it's just like the team, like, this is before the ladder goes live. This is just played on Showdown, right? And Paul tweeted like, he tweeted out the picture of the team and just said, "My first game of the day, I got cooked by this." And it's Lunala, Tinglu, Dugong, Female Indeedee, Armorrouge, and Gloom, right? And yeah, esports made an article about it. And there's so many different parts of this that just make me giggle, First off, we got the title. Bizarre Dugong team is cooking all the best Pokemon Scarlet and Fire players. Is this the call for worlds? And he even calls out Chua. It's like Chua claimed he got cooked by the Bizarre team. And it's just like, I imagine like being the one who loses to this team and you get called out by being a top player that got bodied by it.
It's so funny too with the line there, like, is this the call for Worlds? Because like it's the article's May 1st and Worlds is like August 14th or whatever it is, how many 2.5 months away. So it's like, yes, we are determining that on May 1st, Dugong Gloom Armorrouge is the call for Worlds, as if the metagame's not gonna advance anymore. But like, I think a lot of people were losing to this team. I don't know if a team pace went around, but there were people playing in Showdown tours, and like, I saw some of the replays where like you had whole crowds of people watching the tour match and like commenting like in the match too. So like people were rallying behind this squad.
It's just like you get a funny team. Like I think it's funny. I think obviously like straight gimmicky teams like that is like crazy. I think like the one like bone I have to pick with the article is like this final paragraph in it. It's like talking about this emphasizing the importance of open team sheets with best of 3. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. But then talking about if players had a chance to preview these items and moveset, they wouldn't be able to see through the gimmicks. But with closed team sheets, you're blindly going in. Now the word about this team is spread around. The gimmicks have lost their surprise factor, be less effective. But then that doesn't correlate with is this the call for Worlds? Because the competitive format is best of 3 open team sheet. So it's like, it just contradicts in a way that like, as a VGC player, I'm just like, oh, well, actually, so it's like, maybe I'm being like a no fun haver when reading this article, but that was like the one part that I was like, okay, like if somebody gets cooked by something in a best of 1 closed team sheet ladder, then like you're like the call for Worlds is just clickbaity.
I do agree with you that the last paragraph got kind of a little too real too quick compared to the rest of it. Started with this Dugong team is cooking, and Paul Chu said he got cooked by it, and then here's this silly strategy that they're blah blah blah. By the way, this is important. This is why it's so important that we never allow this to ever exist. And it's like, whoa, wait, we went from 0 to 60 real quick. Like, as you mentioned, first of all, it's best of 1 compared to best of 3, close to open sheet. And you even say it in that last paragraph. Now that the cat's out of the bag, the gimmick is not working as well because people understand what the team is doing. So it solved its own problem regardless of the open team sheet factor or not, because on the same day everybody now knows what it does, so it's not catching anyone off surprise anymore.
Yeah, like the rest of the article, like I think it's hilarious because like this team's hilarious, like the Chua getting cooked and getting the drive by there I think is hilarious, but like yeah, the last paragraph I just like take issue with because then it's like it's just you ask that last paragraph and this article is like a 10 out of 10, but that last paragraph,
I thought we were here for a good silly Dugong time, and then you get real in the last second.
It's not even the getting real part, it's like it's getting wrong part, because you're either this team was either a best of 3 open team sheet, in which case talking about the gimmick surprise factor isn't valid, or it was a best of 1 closed team sheet, in which case it invalidates, like, is this the call for worlds and all of this stuff? Like, it's just like it doesn't line up. It's just like it's 2 different, at that point it was just like better to do 2 different articles, one with like the importance of like closed team sheets and open team sheets because of these teams, and one with this silly little Gloom team, right? But my purpose wasn't to just like go after the article. That one line though, I reread it while we were like here, and I was just like, I have to say something about this last line, because the rest of the article I'm like, haha, and this last line just irks me.
It's funny, like, as a man that can openly admit has tried to make Dugong work more than I probably should in the last decade of VGC. Like, because I love Dugong ever since Gen 1. I've loved that Pokemon. I think it's so silly, so derpy. And like it's fun to see this work, like, because even they express it like, you have all these great legendaries like Shadow Rider and Kyogre and Groudon and Dugong, like, so that's why it's just fun silly times. But what's funny is, like, of all the replays I've watched, I haven't seen anyone bring the Gloom. I know what the Gloom is there for. Like you have the stench, you try to have a 50% chance to flinch with the loaded dice and stuff. But like, I've watched like 5 different replays, and none of them have actually brought Gloom. They bring Dugong, Armarouge, like Lunala, but I have not seen the Gloom in action.
I have a crazy conspiracy onto why that is, by the way. Because it's bad.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
it's on the team for fun, like,
100%. Which is just a silly for fun team. But there's a couple silly for fun teams that are kind of cooking a little bit when we're looking over results. So the 2 that kind of want to talk a little bit about, we have the VGC Trainer School, which I think was like the first tournament, also $400 prize pool. So really, really cool when the tournaments can be backed up with stuff like that. Of course, anyone who is hosting a tournament, we love the grassroots like organizers. Y'all are crushing it right now. So first one was won by Michael Derbest, Michelle Derbest. I know people go back and forth on that, depending on your first language of choice there. But winning with Coridon and Walking Wake. Walking Wake, I think, is a little silly. That's your boy,
Sierra.
Yo, it's like, I need to talk to Michael, because like Walking Wake, like, I love that thing, but oh my god, like, it's bad. Like, I don't know if I'm just like putting it on like bad teams, but it's just I never get the kill that I need to get it to kill. What is this set? Is this
Life
is this going to be a Life Orb? Yeah, even a Lorb set. I always miss KOs. The sun's up, Lorb. I miss it. Great, fantastic. It's also awkward speed tier. Have to commit the Terra to it. I can't with this Pokemon. And he won the $400 prize pool of VGC Trainer School Open, which had a bunch of players and a bunch of really good players in it. So
yeah, I mean, it went 13-1 to win the finals, which is pretty impressive. I do think the team is very interesting. Like, this is kind of, I guess, what you can expect from a Koraidon core that doesn't just go all in on photosynthesis, right? Like, you just have the Fluttermane and Walking Wake. You have two of your other 5 Pokemon taking advantage of it. So it's like, I like that balance. It's not like you have 4 proto synthesis Pokemon, right? Like, where you are relying on the sun being up. Because, like, Choice Specs Fluttermane can still work in and outside of sun, right? The Walking Wake might be more photosynthesis reliant than the Fluttermane can, but, like, this team is not necessarily just reliant on Koraidon surviving and making sure that it's there. But of course, Koraidon is really strong with Collision Course, Flare Blitz, Flame Charge as well. There's like a lot of speed options here because there's Flame Charge on Koraidon. There's Choice Specs Icy Wind on Fluttermane, so I would imagine it's a speed boosting, stat spread on this Choice Spec, so you can be faster and go for Specs Icy Wind. And then there's also Trick Room on Frigoraph, which is probably just there to reset Trick Room against some of the Ice Rider teams. But this is like a pretty well-rounded team, and I think besides the Walking Wake, I would say you'd probably anticipate the other 5 Pokemon to be very much all over Indy this weekend. I would love to see if somebody, pops off with Walking Wake too.
I would be excited. I just I try. I've tried more to make Walking Wake work than Slitherwing. Like, Slitherwing, I found my Reg G team with the Sun and the Drillhuff, and I was like, yo, like, I'm riding this team till the end of format. Like, this is just fun. This Walking Wake, I've tried on a couple of different iterations of teams. I have done Torkoal Sun. I've done Manulus Sun. I have done my first team that I picked up in Reg G was Groudon. I threw a Walking Wake on there. What happened? It got bodied. Why? Because it also feels bad next to Groudon. Because what happens if you don't tear your Groudon into fire? Look, a forced line. Oh, it's just going to get burnt. Like, it's just, ugh. So, yeah, maybe I have to try with Koraidon here. Which is still also Fire, Terra, Clearance, whatever, different
Yeah,
bone
the
pick.
Koraidon and Walking Wake are both, they don't like fairy types. Like, very, very much so.
Yeah, so that one's definitely a fun team, though a very skilled player, obviously. Then Joe's been like Joe Ugarte has been like popping off in these tours. So he won the Tommy Tuesday one, and he's got second in the VGC Trainer School and another one too, I believe. But I mean, Shadow Rider Calyrex was something that was talked about beginning of format as like the thing that everyone fears, and like it's definitely out there taking a couple names.
Yeah, for sure. And this is like, I wasn't calling Joe out when I said the team building is paint by numbers, but like when I was looking at the teams, it's literally Shadow Rider Calyrex, Raging Bolt, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, and Amoonguss. Like, that could very well be 6 of the 7 most popular Pokemon at Indy this weekend. Like, Shadow Rider's probably the number 1 usage restricted. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe something happens. But, like, the other 5 Pokemon could all be up there. Like, the only one he's missing is Fluttermane, right? At this point. And there's nothing wrong with that because obviously these are the strongest Pokemon. This happens a lot at the beginning of formats where it gets like kind of centralized into the good stuff's core, right? Where you just choose like these really well-rounded Pokemon. I do think if you thought Raging Bolt was good before in the Regulation F and how many events it won and how dominant it was, I think Raging Bolt's actually even stronger in Regulation G because there's Kyogre, there's Pelipper, there's some of these other things. Urshifu is just as good too, so you have your options to continue to Thunderclap. Like I would imagine that if Joe brought this team to Indy, I don't know what his plans are, but like any skilled player that could bring this 6 to Indy could very well, perform very well with this team because that's how just well-rounded it is.
Let's talk about the Pelipper that you're talking about, because Pelipper, it's so funny that like we have Kyogre, like because our weather setters before our swapping ones, our ability ones was Torkoal and Pelipper, whether you wanted the sun or the rain. And then we have restricted. So we get the Groudon and Kyogre. And like people are just like, Kyogre? Nah, Toilet Bird? Let's go. And rocking the Pelipper, because Pelipper, I mean, first off, you get the rain. You don't have to like commit your restricted slot to it. But you also get that wide guard. Talking about the utility of these wide guard Pokemon, you can also set up for speed with the Tailwind. So it's actually quite interesting to see the amount of Pelippers like kind of popping up on a variety of different restricteds. Like in the top 16 of the Tommy Tuesday, There's one paired with the Kali Ice. There's one paired with and Zacian as well, and one paired with also Kali Ice. So a lot of Kali Ice ones. But it's definitely Pokemon that is out there.
Yeah, I think Pelipper is like kind of fascinating right now to see because it's acting as like a fraudulent Kyogre, right? Like as if you could have two restricteds on your team if you have like X plus Kyogre. Like Pelipper allows you to have that. It's not as strong, obviously, as Kyogre, but also Kyogre doesn't get Wide Guard, right? So if Kyogre doesn't get Hurricane Confusions either. So like there are ways that people are using Pelipper as an anti Pokemon, as in you run it on these Calyrex Ice Rider teams so that you have Wide Guard to keep your Calyrex safe from Astro Barrage. But then there are other teams that use it with Archaludon and Urshifu Rapid Strike and stuff that like are taking advantage of having the rain set up. So I think it is surprising. I don't think we were going to imagine Pelipper being this highly used. I think I saw a tweet on VGC data that like Pelipper was like 3 times as more popular as Kyogre in a certain tournament or something, which would make sense because Kyogre can only be in one slot, but anybody can run Pelipper, right? So it's more of accessible of a Pokemon. But that Wide Guard it's real tough to deal with. Then it's got a Focus Sash, right? So it's gonna be you got to hit it twice.
I forgot one as well, because I pulled up the Tommy Tuesday and I also wanted to look at the VGC Trainer School, but the Zamazenta is being paired with too. So
yes,
Zamazenta is interesting because like Sword and Shield, all about Zacian. If you're using Zamazenta, like I don't know what you're doing with your life, right? It was just like
you're being that guy.
Yeah, but like the Zamazenta is actually finally having a little bit of its own time to shine right about now. Zacian's still up there as well. I mean, it is just a super powerful Pokemon, but it's kind of like offhand just looking at it so far in the grassroots kind of seems a little bit more split.
Yeah, I think I know our boy Moxie Boosted is all in on Zamazenta. Like he made a video on it that I watched, and he was like talking about it won a certain online tour that like it's just very impressive. It kind of does a different role because everyone went into this generation thinking like, oh well, because it was so bad in Sword and Shield, you're just probably going to use that as a support, as a secondary restricted with like coaching and some of these other things. But no, like the Zamazenta is because it has Iron Defense Body Press now. Like we saw Komoa win a regional with that. We know how we've seen Lens Corviknight and whatever. Yeah. We know how strong a Pokemon that can get multiple Iron defenses set up can be against the field. So I wouldn't expect Zamazenta to win, but its typing is not too terrible. There's not too much ground right now besides Groudon and Landorus, as Landorus Incarnate's usage has dropped off in a lot of these tournaments from where it was. It's no longer 47% of the meta. So like being neutral into Fairy as fighting Steel because of the held item, and then like being weak to ground where there's not a lot of ground attackers right now is actually it's actually pretty good. And the other thing that Moxie mentioned in his video, what's good about Zamazenta compared to Zacian is with the Gen 9 mechanics where they changed that their sword or their shield only activates one time in a battle when you switch in instead of every time. Zacian loses that attack stat immediately because of Incineroar switching in, but Zamazenta's body press does not get lowered, right? Parting Shot lowers attack and special attack, and Intimidate lowers attack. So Zamazenta is able to keep that +1 unless you use like Tickle or I don't know who anyone would use that. So like that's why it's more effective than Zacian right now.
Well, even just like looking at Zamazenta, because like as you said, the Komao, like the Iron Defense Body Press, like that isn't necessarily new. Did win an event. It's one of those very much so. If you do not have an answer for this team, like you're cooked. You do not have an answer for this team, and like this, like obviously that is then a viable strategy. So it's not like you're forcing something with the Zamazenta, but the Zamazenta, like the Komo's like special defense, like isn't like bad, but it definitely is like kind of middling in comparison to like the actual defense. Whereas like Zamazenta, you got even on both sides. You get a lot
and
more.
You're +1, right?
Yes, a +1 on defense as well to kick it off. Your speed is a lot higher. And like you said,
and you're not 4 times weak to fairy.
Yeah, like your typing is just so much better. Like you actually have a pretty decent defensive typing without having to force a terrestrialization. Whereas Como, it kind of is like it kind of felt bad sometimes. So like, no, I actually think like Zamazenta is very well posed, especially too seeing the Zamazenta with the Pelipper. Obviously, one of the weaknesses that is a little bit more out there. There is obviously the ground, but like the fire. And if you're neutralizing that because of the rain, well then. So actually, I hate playing against that type of team, but I do think that this does look pretty strong right now, especially having it paired with like this one that I pulled up from Camerupt, went 9-3 at the VGC trainer school, has it paired with like the Wellspring Mask Ogrepon, which also then you capitalize off of your rain. Like you can also like follow me things over. Like, I don't know. Like, I think like Zamazenta Pelipper just in general seems to be pretty okay.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, the steel type with rain has existed as archetype for so long. Like, think about Carson's Mega Scizor rain team that he won the IC with, or like the old Mega Mawile teams, like in 2016, if you had Mega Mawile plus Kyogre on it or something like that. The Metagross teams with Kyogre and Sword and Shield as well, right? It just makes a lot of sense because you're covering the steel type's biggest weakness in fire. But one of the other teams I saw in the Tommy Tuesday got second, Daveron, that Joe beat in the finals. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said the teams are kind of building themselves right now. So those first 4 Pokemon, Calyrex Ice Rider, Hitmontop, Farigiraf, and Ogerpon Cornerstone, literally, like, when I was on Showdown making the team, like, I had them in there before even making a team. Like, because I've been a big Ogerpon Cornerstone, like, defender since Regulation E. I think it's, like, if you're on a Trick Room team, it's the most consistent way to get Trick Room up because you have Sturdy, so both of your opponent's attacks will go into Ogerpon instead of your Trick Room setter, which is Calyrex now. So now Calyrex stays at 100% HP, gets Trick Room set up, and then you can bring Farigiraf in to click Helping Hand, Glacial Lance, or whatever. So like just by me wanting a Calyrex Ice Rider team, I already had 4 of my Pokemon there. Because like, well, I want Cornerstone. Oh, well, if I have Cornerstone, that means I need Farigiraf to stop the priorities, to stop Fake Out. Oh, but then if they have Chi-Yu in this slot, I had Heatran, and I was trying Armarouge out also. Like, I was trying other fire types out. So I was like, I don't want Incineroar. I want the Hitmontop, as I mentioned earlier. Like, so was that 70%? I'm not good at math. What's 4 out of 6 of my team was already determined before I even got to the nitty gritty of the format. Yeah.
See, whereas like I am like maybe you two, like you and everyone are just like on the same mindset, because like when you're like these teams build themselves, like Galley Ice, Hitmontop, Farigiraf, Cornerstone, Ogerpon. I'm just like, because I'm looking at this team and I'm like, oh, here's an exception to the rule. Because like I would not have just been like off the rip picking those 4. I just like Cornerstone, Ogerpon.
It's the goat. I'm telling you, Sierra.
Urshifu exists. Urshifu Rapid Strike. It doesn't care about your sturdy or your defense or any of that.
It doesn't OHKO. You live it. You click follow me. They surging strikes, and then it forces the other attack into your 40% Ogerpon or whatever, 35% Ogerpon. So like you're good. I don't care if Ogerpon goes down. I got Glacial Land. I got a Calyrex set up under 4 turns of Trick Room at 100% HP. It's worth it.
I just don't like it. Like, I just like, you know what? It works so much better. Any of the other Ogerpons, like, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Sorry.
It's fine. You don't have to be a believer. It is.
I also just
it
like
is what it is.
On principle, and like maybe this is just like a virtue that I can die on this hill. Any team that has to have Iron Ball on a Pokemon to help it out with like the fact that you're setting your own Trick Room, I'm never a fan of that.
That's a different tech. I'll give Daveron credit there. That's a different tech. Most people are running like, was it a Jetpack or Red Card or whatever it's
I think
used
it's
for,
definitely cool. Like when it like because like obviously then you can be slower in the trick room. Like this is very like set up for like the trick room with your 4 Pokemon. Then you have your fast mode and your Chi-Yu and your Regieleki. But like I'm just like, yo, pick a slower Pokemon. Like I don't know. I guess like you can't really because like you're trying to get that Intimidate and you're trying to get that Wide Guard and you're trying to get that Coaching. So it's like you need a Pokemon that do all of that. But then I'm like, oh man, your item's like almost like wasted. Like
Yep.
I don't
Also,
know.
Cornerstone's good into Amoonguss because Follow Me redirects the Spore over to that. So like there's a lot of like flying types
Wellspring?
out there.
Like Wellspring? You know,
Wellspring
you can do
does
that.
it too, yeah. But
You can do that with Wellspring and not get like OHKO'd by Surging Strikes and lose it for turn, unless like you're so dedicated that you want it, like so you can bring in a different Pokemon, but then you're still doing
I'll
a 3
show you the way. I'll show you the Church of Cornerstone one day, Sierra. Don't worry.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced here, but it's definitely like it's really fun being able to see what people are kind of thinking. I have to ask. So, looking through these 2 tournaments, what is like your most like, oh, I didn't think of that, but that is a cool team out there.
Ooh, let me do some more looking. I think I'm not sure because like I'm so unintelligent with all of the Terapagos teams that like every single one of them I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. So I know like it hasn't. I can't remember if it's one certain events. I know there's like the Specs Terapagos versus Calm Mind Leftovers versions and stuff. So like I would say probably one of those teams. Like if somebody's been able to get Terapagos to work well, like it was just look at this VGC trainer event. Ibis got 3rd place with like Terapagos, Golden Go, Ogerpon, Clefairy. Like I'm like, oh okay, that makes sense. That's like your whole team is built around supporting Terapagos with Clefairy, Tornadus, Ogerpon, Incin. And then just in case Terapagos, you know, it hits the fan or whatever, then you have Golden Go as your other special attack abuser with choice specs. So like probably anyone who's made Terapagos work would be my answer.
All right. The 2 that I'm like, I don't necessarily like offhand think they're meta defining, but I definitely would be annoyed going up against them. First, 5-2 at the Tommy's Tuesday is Lugia, Sableye, Annihilate, Comfey with Rilla and Incin. So then you have your Sableye, you can set up, you have your screens, Will-O-Wisp and Taunt, Lugia with your Calm Mind, and then you have Earth Power, Aeroblast, as well as Multiscale, and Covert Cloak, so you can just like set up and not worry about stuff. And then like this just looks so annoying to go up against, just like across the board. Like Comfey with like Floral Healing, so like you can set up with your Lugia behind screens, and then all of a sudden just like go off with a Comfey, I think would be so annoying to go up against. And there is another team here that I was like, ooh, but I can't find it now.
Well, I have another one here as you try to find it. Jack from Australia in the Trainer School Open. He has this Galarian Moltres team, and like I don't know if I'm being punked online. Like I, asked like some of our friends too. I was like, is Galarian Moltres actually as good as every single reply I'm seeing on Twitter when people are asking for counters and they all say G Moltres on it, or like is it a bit? And Jack went 8-3 with this Assault Vest Terra Steel Galarian Moltres team that's like Fiery Wrath, Hurricane, Sucker Punch, U-Turn. It's like the most budget Yveltal you could possibly ask for, since Yveltals doesn't even exist in the game.
Oh my god. I think this one team as well, it's like, so I'm going to tell you to don't look at the list. Stop looking at the list.
I'm not looking.
I'm going to say the Pokemon. I want you to guess the restricted, all right?
Okay.
We got Indeedee, Torkoal, Chi-Yu, Clefairy, Gallade.
Indeedee, Torkoal, Chi-Yu, Clefairy. Ooh, there's like some Trick Room on there too, but the way that you're expressing it makes me think it's not Cali Ice, because like that'd be too easy of an answer. Is it like Dialga or something? I don't know.
Cali Rider Shadow.
With all those slow mons?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like Cali Shadow next to like Chi-Yu would just be like devastating. Or like you have like the Follow Me, the Gallade has the Wide Guard, the Clefairy has the Follow Me. This is very much so all in on the I do not want to let you hit this It's like Protect the President style team. Yeah. Like there is the the Gallade, Psycho Cut, Sacred Sword, like you're not really damaging with too much else. I guess the Chi-Yu, you have Eruption Torkoal. Like you have a couple options, but yeah, this seems definitely like, oh, because it's kind of a different way that I've seen people building with the Cali Shadow.
Yeah, and just in this one tour, like one of the cool things when you're looking on Limitless, if you check a Pokemon, it'll show you every time someone used that Pokemon in the tournament. So 65 players, including the winner, Joe, or second place actually in this tournament, Joe Garce, but he won the other one, so whatever. 65 players in the Trainer School Open used Calyrex Shadow Rider as their one restricted, and I think like that is the restricted to beat going into Indy. Like you literally need the wide guard, you need normal types, you need like that's why Fergraph is so good, right? Like you need ways to counter this restricted.
So what's interesting as well is like when you click on the thing, you get to see the amount of players, but also like the wins. And like Cali Shadow, it's close, but it technically has more losses. I think Cali Shadow is like, unless it's piloted by a top player, I think there's like the two different ways to play Cali Shadow, right? It's like, think of like size spam, whereas like you can just like bot it and just click like your expanding force, and like if it works, it works. But if someone's like prepared for it or plays around it, you're just kind of like, oh, well, I lose. I think you can do that with Cali Shadow. Or there's obviously then people who can like pilot it really well and like position a little bit better. It's like same with size spam to get set up in a better way so you can't counter it and then body you. And I think Cali Shadow is going to be very much so a very high restricted Pokemon. But unless it's being piloted by players that are very good already, I don't think it's going to be doing like the deep like top cut runs. That would be very reliable for getting people into day twos.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of really good information. Like some people, there's obviously the pros and cons of how fast or how long formats are announced for compared to when we start playing them, because people are like, oh, well, we have the last month of Regulation F was just everyone playing Regulation G, and nobody was playing besides after Orlando or whatever. But like we now do have a month of data going into the official format of events that we would not have had if everyone was playing Regulation F till the last second. And VGC Data had they had a thread today that they posted like all their info on Regulation F and like some interesting things. Like obviously it looks like Calyrex, Ice Rider, and Shadow Rider are like almost exactly the same amount of this pie chart that they have on the usage. So then they have 300. Basically, they didn't just do like top cut teams or whatever. They collect data from the last month of online tours, and they have 350 teams with a positive record is the first stat. And on that one, 67% of those teams had an Incineroar on it. So like that's going to show you that like that's clearly the Pokemon to beat. Then it's like Amoonguss or Sheep, or Amoonguss is 66%, or Sheep Rapid Stripe 60%, like all the other normal things. But in top cut teams, so top 8 teams that they pulled over the last month from online tours, the same 66.7% of those teams have Incineroar. So you go from the general field of 67% of teams that have a positive win rate have an Incineroar, and 66.7% of top cut teams on online tours also have an Incineroar. That's effectively the same number. The conversion rate is unbelievable there.
I think I need to get like checked or something, because you're saying these numbers and I'm like, like there's a point where I'm like, I don't it's like I'm totally like checked out, but I'm trying to really pay attention to what you're saying.
It's just moral support at that point. You could have been like, wow, that's crazy, man.
I'm like that grandma in the background of like the battles that's just like cheering no matter like what's like you might get embodied. I'm just like, let's go. But I'm hopeful.
In simpler terms, for Sierra or anyone else that is confused, that's not Sierra, okay? Of the last month of online tours, VGC Data took teams that performed well, going positive, right? A positive win rate would be well. 67% of those teams had Incineroar.
Okay.
Then, of all of the tournaments that they ran, 67% of the top cut teams, the top 8 teams, had Incineroar. So what I'm saying is that 60% of good teams, 67% of good teams had Incineroar, and 67% of top cut teams had Incineroar on it. So the conversion is effectively 1-to-1 there. Oh, do we understand what I'm saying? Like, Incineroar is that good in this format.
I feel like it could have been
that
in one
you
sentence,
running Incineroar,
but I do understand.
Yeah.
It's not even that I didn't understand before. Like, I just, like, you're saying the words and it's just like, do, 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 like going on in my head. And I'm like, I'm like actively thinking, like, K Sierra, back down to earth. Like, I'm hearing the words, but like, it's just not, yeah. So basically,
we got there.
2/3 of people using Incineroar and also top cut, you know,
yes.
like,
that just shows how dominant it is. Like,
yeah, it's very good. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be like, considering like the restricted out there, like, yeah, everything is Clear Amulet though, which like, any of knockoff, like it's still a good Pokemon, but oh my god, Clear Amulet,
but it doesn't matter,
I've never,
right? Because if Farigiraf is good because it's immune to Astral Barrage and resists Expanding Force, well then Incineroar resists Astral Barrage and is immune to the Expanding Force, right? So like, it's kind of, you put both of them on your team, and then you put Pelipper with Wide Guard. Now you just don't even care about Calyrex.
well, I was just gonna do different and say I hate Clear Amulet, but like, that's, you know.
Oh, okay.
You're like, I didn't hate Clear Amulet until Restricteds, and then it's like,
until 700 BST mons got to
and then
use
it's like, oh wait, this is actually kind of sucks. But all right, I think all this talk about Pokemon and conversion rates and stuff, I think this would be good to start talking about Indy, specifically predictions going into Indy. Especially this, Indy will be the first, as we said before, Indy will be the first regional of new regulation, and I think, like, I don't know what our player count is at right now, but Indy's a pretty easy one to get to, so I'd imagine this is going to be a higher, like, end regional in terms of the numbers.
Yeah, I think so. Usually Indy is pretty high, and as you mentioned, it's very accessible to get through for a lot of the country, except for me, apparently, because it was so expensive. But
okay, it's 816 masters currently registered. So
last time we were here, Stefan won with another restricted format where he had his I think it was the Assault Vest and Hyper Beam Kyogre set that Stefan used, where oh my god, I'm blanking on Sword Shield, when you turn the normal Dynamax move that would like lower your speed, you know what I'm talking about, like the normal attacks,
Max Strike.
Yeah, so like he used Assault Vest Kyogre with Max Strike to lower the speed of the other Kyogres and stuff on the other side. So we haven't been to Indy, right, since 2022. Last year we didn't have it, right? I want to say.
I'm not sure
crazy?
What year it was. I don't know.
I don't think we had it last year. I don't know. I could be blanking, but I just remember Stefan winning, you know, that one.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't remember what I did earlier today. I don't remember what year we had Indy last, but yeah, this Indy should be exciting. So I'm excited. I think this was I have a Discord where I literally put down every single event, and I did all the events for last season. Last season we did not have Indy.
Sweet. All right, I'm not crazy.
Perfect.
Maybe I'm not crazy because of that, but maybe other reasons. But
other reasons for sure. All right. Indy predictions. Got to kick it off talking about our girl Fluttermane. Of course, new restricted format, but Fluttermane like looks to match up pretty well into things as well. A lot of sun stuff. So day one Fluttermane position on the usage graphic. First question.
Yeah. I think that's a more fun way to ask it instead of the percentage, because we could be like wildly off on the percentage. So usually Fluttermane's been first or second for the last year and a half, right, of VGC. But I do think I think Incineroar, I think Amoonguss, I think Urshifu Rapid Strike are all probably going to be higher. Maybe one of the two restricteds will be higher as well.
We should actually clarify really with the usage graphic. I don't remember if they were thinking of splitting
it or not. They'll be on their own graphic. You're saying
graphic. So, like, are we going to assume that there is potentially two different graphics, and we just say day one Flutter?
Either way, I think there will be more Fluttermane than the highest the highest restricted because the restricted are so spread out. But yeah, I think there'll probably be two different ones. But yeah, I'm gonna go 5th on the day one usage charts, which is, you know, that's a fall from grace for our girl, but you know, I think it's where she probably deserves to be right now.
I think 4th. I think it's going to be Ensign, Rapid or Shifu, Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, Rillaboom, Amoonguss, Ogerpon, line number 2.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So I'll say 4th. I think it's still like Fluttermane's always just going to be a strong choice in general for a team. So I think like considering the speed and the fact that like Flutter, Chien Pal, Kurata Murata all tie on speed, but Flutter like is the only one that can actually get a speed booster to outspeed. Right. I think actually kind of plays well in Fluttermane's favor to where it might be a good pick just so you can be manipulating speed in that sort of way. So
yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Highest finishing grass type Pokemon. So Rillaboom, Amoonguss, Ogerpon, you know.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting conversation because we always talk about the grass types in every event, and like, you know, when Articuno won, we're like, look at, there's 5 grass types in the top 12, right? Like, so that's why it makes sense that it's working so well. I think grass types like more than ever now for some reason, even though Glacial Lance is so strong, I think the grass types are going to be popping up even more. I'm going to go Rillaboom on my answer because I feel like Rillaboom now in this format, it's like it's even stronger than it was in the last format when I'm just playing against it, especially if you have Psychic Terrain, if you have Indeedee for your Cowrex Shadow Rider team or whatever, like just switching the grassy terrain and like having priority to not care about Trick Room and Tailwind and other things. Like I think Rillaboom is gonna be there.
I unfortunately have to be boring with this one, and I'm going to agree on the Rillaboom. I know a lot of these we like to do like different answers to not make it fun, but I actually just think it's a throw for me to say anything other than Rillaboom. I think Amoonguss will clear Ogerpon in terms of usage. I think people are very like sometimes disrespectful with how they think about Amoonguss. I think Amoonguss is very strong, but I think Rillaboom could slot into a variety of teams easier for a lot of the reasons that you said. You get a faster pickout as well. Like, it's just very, very good. So if you want a Pokemon that has that priority, has the fake out, has that, like Amoonguss, it's so slow. So it's just like, I think it should be decently close between them, but I think Rillaboom will clear. And I think Amoonguss will clear Ogerpon, so.
Our only concern here, because Wolf is there, we might be disrespecting Wolf on the Incin Amoonguss core, because if Incineroar is going to win everything, Amoonguss is usually right there. So us both saying Rillaboom, Amoonguss might be upset.
I just, you know, like we're talking about, oh, okay, well, the Incin and the Amoonguss, but it's like, I feel like it's Incin and Rillaboom. Like, I don't know, the Amoonguss is like strong too. Like, do not get me wrong, but like a lot of these like strong, like balanced teams, like I don't know, just the Incin and Amoonguss is so annoying.
Well, you could also have 2 grass types, right? If you wanted, in theory.
Of all. They're like all 3 of them, you know, it's the 3 Musketeers.
I think they're a lot less cool than the other 3 Musketeers, the Terrakion, Cavalion, and Virizion.
I don't know, but at least these ones like win. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just maybe I am being disrespectful. It's just like
in chat.
No, like I'm looking at like the top 8 usage for Orlando, right? And obviously Wolf won with the Amoonguss and the Incineroar, right? Like second place we had Incin Rilla. Then 6th place, Incin Rilla. 7th place, Incin Rilla. Before like 8th place, like we have just more Incin Rilla pairings.
That's fair.
Like across the board. So I think like those are like the 2 best buds, the 2 annoying fake out users, right?
Right. I think the only other reason Amoonguss can potentially boost up and get a higher spot than Rillaboom is because it does underspeed all the Trick Room sweepers, right? It underspeeds Cowrex Ice if someone's running Iron Hands or something, if someone's running Blood Moon or Saluna or regular Ursaluna. So, like, the fact that you can you can't really set Trick Room up in front of an Amoonguss team because then you're just going to put your Calyrex to sleep. Would be like it'd be a meta development that I'm saying that like we didn't need the Amoonguss as much as we need it now in this regulation.
Yeah, I definitely think Amoonguss will be good. I just if I'm looking at the top usage, I still think Rillaboom's gonna beat it on that one. All right, next question. This one's like an all-in answer. Most likely to win Indy, Shadow Rider or Ice Rider?
I'll let you go first because I think I can defend either position here.
You're gonna take the opposite one.
I'm gonna try to, especially since we're tied on one already. I don't want to say the same answer, but I'll let you choose first.
So this one's tough.
It's a tough call.
The reason being is, especially once we get to our final question, who's going to win Indy? I think Ugarte is on a cooldown for me. And I don't know what he's using for Indy, but he's been using the Shadow Rider in the online tours. So, despite the fact that I think overall Ice Rider is going to perform better, I am going to say I think most likely to win will be Shadow Rider.
Yeah, I think you made the right answer. I think just off of a sheer numbers fact, right? It's probably going to be number one restricted Pokemon, so the highest probability that it's going to win. And obviously the math doesn't always work out that way. That just because it's number one in usage doesn't mean it's going to win. But since you have taken the Shadow Rider side, I will take the counter argument Ice Rider and say everyone and their mother is going to be trying to practice against Shadow Rider and have 5 different Shadow Rider answers on their team, and they might not have as many answers for the Ice Rider if they're anticipating seeing more Shadow Rider. So it might be able to quote unquote slip through the cracks a little bit more in maybe certain matchups that help people get into top 8. And then once you get into top 8, it's a crapshoot anyway, right? You could get crit, you could get, Amoonguss gets 3 turns of sleep or whatever. Like there's all these different things that can happen. So I would like that. I think Ice Rider is a higher this might get me killed. I think Ice Rider has a higher skill ceiling than Shadow Rider because it takes more to get online, where Shadow Rider just out the jump is viable. So if you have a high skill ceiling on a highly skilled player like Calyrex that's using Ice Rider, that's gonna be my vote.
I actually think I agree that I think Ice Rider has a higher skill ceiling. It's like the Shadow Rider, just like that size spam thing I said earlier. Like I think it's a lot easier to kind of pick up on like an across the board type of thing. But you get a good player using the right team. Even like look at Karis and like this Iron Crown, right? Toller was on that too. Like these are good players that what is normally a standard size spam team, change it up to become stronger and then take it to like some really good finishes. So I think Shadow Rider's kind of in that sort of camp. I think like Ice Rider, I think it actually is getting quite a few eyes for the event. I'd be intrigued to see how it'll do in the field, but I definitely don't think it's being disrespected so far. So
for sure.
I'd be intrigued. All right. Talking about restricteds, we're going to go on to our next question. Not counting the OHKO top 5, Shadow Rider, Ice Rider, Koraidon, Terrapagos, Terrapagos. Oh, man.
You'll learn this weekend.
Kyogre. I don't know, because I would say, like, I still don't know if it's Zacian or Zacian. And I just go back
Zacian.
Well,
what kills us is our TCG casters say Zacian, but it's Zacian.
I don't know. I just say it whatever way. Like, whatever way it just comes to my head, it makes sense. I probably have never said it the same way like twice in a row. It's always back and forth. But choose the surprise restricted. That can make top 8. So this was the list that you, Jake, and Justin made last week. I haven't listened to that episode yet because I was going to listen to it on my way to Indy because I have like a long train before I even get to my flight. So I'm.
And yeah, you don't need to listen to this episode because you were on it. So that would make sense,
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna wait, and it's all about Reg G. So if anyone's has a long travel and you listened to this one, didn't listen to last week's, last week a lot of Reg G stuff. But yeah, so I missed the conversation about the OHKO top 5. I was kind of surprised to see Kyogre there. I guess Groudon kind of sucks. Okay, I'll let you go first. On surprise
Yeah.
restricted, that can make top 8. I know what
That
I have in that
was
headstone
that
already.
was moral of the story. That Groudon does kind of suck because, as you mentioned earlier, its huge important spread attack can miss where the Calyrexes cannot. And Kyogre just like power crept into the 5th slot over. So if we had 6, Groudon would have been the 6th restricted there. But he is eligible if you want to select him on your slot. For me, I think if there's a surprise restricted to make top 8, I think it's Lunala, because Lunala with wide guard is like, as a person that's been playing Ice Rider on Showdown, like that wide guard is so good. It's like multi-scale, whatever its actual abilities name is, that helps it once at full HP to take less damage. It's so good because it's really hard to knock out. And then, of course, having a Moongeist Beam to be able to one-shot Calyrex. Shadow Rider in response is like really good, because if they only have Astral Barrage, which you're going to see in open team sheet Showdown, we don't see that information. But if they don't have another ghost attack, like, you are not concerned about getting one by getting Astral Barrage because you have wide guard. I think there is the chance that somebody could just use Lunala as the ultimate support restricted, and then just 5 good stuff mons in the other 5 slots and sneak into top 8.
Okay. I think for myself, I'm gonna say Zamazenta.
Ooh.
So I actually do think that the Zamazenta Pelipper team looks quite like decent on paper. So I do think like it's one that if you have the matchup for it, it'll kind of falter, but a little bit of good luck in the matchup roulette. I think it should do quite well. So I think that's the one I want to go for. I just like the way like the stats are, like we already said it, but the way the stats are kind of spread out, I think just looks good across the field, as well as the fact it does have like heavy slam to like have that steal. Like I don't know. I think one could sneak in at 8.
I think it's not a crazy thought, especially like because we talked about Pelipper and why it's so strong, and like Zamazenta, it's kind of the same way, like where if you lose to the Calyrexes because you don't have wide guard, like sometimes you're going to lose because you don't have a body press or iron defense body press answer, right? So it's not a crazy idea for Zamazenta. We'll see if either of us are right though.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I'm assuming is because like I'm reading out the questions, but Joe Brown actually made the questions. So,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming this one you said day 1 usage Pelipper for a graph. You meant like which one's going to be higher day 1 usage?
Yeah. I'm like I imagine if one of these two cracks into the top 12, like their image is going to be on the graphic. Which one do you think is more likely to be on that top 12?
If neither makes it, I'll just ask Katie. Katie, what are the usages? We need it for the podcast.
Yeah.
I need this for the podcast. Thanks. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I mean, I know my answer. I won't change it, even if we have the same one. So I'll let you choose first. I promise. I already know my answer.
All right. Well, I'm already like locked in on what I want for an answer. I'm assuming you're gonna say Farigiraf.
Yes.
Mine is Pelipper, so that's actually works out very well. I don't know. I mean, I have not been not vocal about how like hype I am about Pelipper. I just think it's strong little bird. It's always been annoying. It's been annoying since Reg A, when it was like, Reg A, like the very first event, it was like Murkrow did amazing, and then the next event we're like, oh, is Murkrow the best bird? And then Pelipper popped up and was like, oh, a Pelipper.
Yeah.
And it's just never gone away since. So I think it'll be close between them, because Farigiraf I definitely think is like pretty well poised, especially with priority moves to take down some of these faster heavy hitters. But I think Pelipper's so like they both combat different things. Pelipper's combating the wide guard from the horses, Farigiraf to protect the horses, especially like Shadow Rider from the priority move. So it's just which one you prioritize more. But yeah, I think Pelipper.
Yeah, I think Pelipper is a fine answer. Like that's why I think it's an interesting question, because I could see either of these two. The only reason I'm going with Farigiraf is like we saw a couple of times in Regulation F that Farigiraf like just barely cracked into that 11th or 12th spot on the usage charts, and like it just seemed like kind of a tech Pokemon, like kind of an answer to the metagame. And now more so than ever, like pretty much almost every Trick Room team. If you have Trick Room, you're going to have Farigiraf on it to stop priority. So if you're running, if you're running Ice Rider, you're also running Farigiraf. If you're running a Blood Moon or Saluna team, you're also running Farigiraf, right? So I think like that's probably my thought process as to why Farigiraf will be higher than Pelipper, because on the certain archetypes, it's pseudo mandatory, where Pelipper is just like a counter Pokemon. It's like a Mienshao, it's like a Galator, like it's like you don't need it on the specific archetype. It's just sometimes you want it in your 6th slot,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I think like the one thing that's like with like Farigiraf is like the Trick Room teams, like they can also kind of do it for themselves too. So I think that then it's like, okay, do you want to open up another slot to like whatever? So I don't know. I do think it'll be very close between these two. Like I actually do think it'll just be like a couple % off, if anything. But final question, and the question, who will win Indianapolis Regionals?
This is a crapshoot, because like I don't know who's going, right? I don't know. I haven't seen like every single tweet. So like my original thought was I was going to go with Stefan. He'll do the back-to-back in Indy. He won with Kyogre before. So, you could do 2 years later, have a nice little story. But then I was saying, like, I think Paul Chua needs some revenge. He needs to reestablish his good name after getting cooked by
You're gonna
by
pick
Dugong.
the person that got absolutely wiped by Dewgong Gloom?
I think Paul Chua, EUSD champion, 6-time regional champion, multiple top worlds, Top Cut champion, or whatever. Like, I think he's got to bounce back from the Dugong allegations and come out of Indy on top.
Oh my goodness. Who I can't remember who's like the last couple of people that predicted.
I can't remember either. You probably picked a European, or no? Did you pick Joe for USC, or did you pick a European? I think
I picked Joe.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out who
I don't know who you picked in Orlando. Maybe you picked, because I picked Brady and you were gonna pick Brady. So maybe did you pick like Riley or something? Another.
I'm trying to because I want to pick a repeat bet actually that I did, but I don't remember what regional. But Dylan Salvanera. I don't remember what regional I
think that was Knoxville. So I think you should be clear from your cooldown.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Because
Knoxville you would have had Vancouver, EUIC, Orlando. Yeah. So you're clear.
Right. Yeah, because I can't pick Ugarte. That would be like actually like bias aside, like I actually do think that is like it was a very strong pick going into this one. But since I can't pick him, because EUIC, I'm gonna pick Dylan Salvanera. I mean, Dylan has been like top of like the championship, like not like at the top, but like 6th, 5th, like at the championship point leaderboard for a while. Always has these runs. It's just like not one of the names that we talk about as much on broadcast. So then like people don't talk about him, even though he is making these runs. So that is, I think I'm going to keep picking him on when I'm on cooldown as well. Cause I do think that that's pretty good shot for me to take it.
If Riley's going to Indy, I feel like Riley just slipped through the cracks, just got 2nd in Brazil last week, number 1 in points. Like,
I cursed, honestly, because he won the first event and like, okay, he got 2nd at Peoria and then he got 2nd in Brazil and he got like top 4. Like he's like always like a bunch of different things. I also think with the Sao Paulo event, because I did actually think about like, could pick like Riley did just get 2nd there. But Sao Paulo was not Reg G.
True.
So because of that, I've taken a little less stock into it. I think actually Riley would be a good bet because consistently good in a new format. But I don't know. If I could do a top 3, I think I would go with like Dylan, Riley, Chuppa would be my top 3.
Yeah.
I had to think about the ordering there, but yeah, that would be the 3, but I'm gonna I can't keep picking regional winners. I think I'm not picking regional winners, previous regional winners. So I'm gonna pick Dylan.
That's what makes the OHKO predictions so tough every time. Is you can't do top 3. You gotta lock in one person.
You know, all the bets on one. So, yeah, that'll be it. But all right. I mean, yeah, I would have picked Ugarte if not cooldown. So, if he
No,
wins,
but
just
you'll
come
be
back
good
to this
for
moment.
you'll be good for NAIC, I get, right? No, right? There's only 2 events. What? Okay, let's
No, but I can pick him for Worlds.
Okay,
so it's
good.
okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Because remember before you're like, oh, I'll pick up NAIC and then Worlds is a new year, and I was like, no. Like after Worlds would reset.
No, cool.
NAIC cool down for Joe, but then
I
you got
already
him
know
for
who
Worlds.
I'm picking for NAIC, so this can't be Ugarte. But I'm not saying that now. But I know who I'm gonna pick. But yeah, all right. Question of the week for final one. You got it. You got it pulled up. Awesome.
Yeah. So we're going with Geb, right? I just want to make sure that was the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So shout outs to Geb. We ask in Discord every week. We ask for some questions to talk about at the end of the podcast. If you want to ask a question, make sure to join the OHKO Discord. We have a lot of fun in there. And Geb asks us, what are some of your favorite resources to use when team building or analyzing the metagame as a whole? Are there any resources you consider essential, like example LabMouse.net, Nerd of Now Damage Calc, etc., for any player to use?
All right. You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I think this has changed over time from when I started back in 2014 to where we are now. I do think it's a great question. Depends on like what level of player you are, but I think regardless of level you are, my one answer would be Peakalytics. Like I wish we had Peakalytics in 2014. I know we had some like similar things with on the 3DS. You could look at the top charts and whatever, but it was kind of a pain to get through. Peakalytics as a new player is perfect because if you're just like a fun, silly guy and you're like, I want to build around Toad's crew or whatever, and you're like, okay, cool, look up Toad's crew on Peakalytics, see its usage, see its most common moves, its most common held items, and its most common teammates. So it helps you team building. I do it all the time if I'm trying to build around a Pokemon and I'm thinking like, all right, how do I make Ho-Oh work in this, Regulation G or something? Who are usually Ho-Oh's the teammates that are most common onto it, right? You're like, okay, it's probably like a Moongus or a Rillaboom or like maybe a water type, right? Like, so Peakalytics would be my number one answer for experienced or brand new players. Like, it gives you all the information you could ever need for when you're trying to team build.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Peakalytics is like top tier, especially like when you're newer. Like, I don't use it as much now. I'm also not a big team builder, so maybe it would be a little bit more useful for me if I did actively team build more. But as I said, that is definitely a very lacking skill on my end. So I normally borrow teams from others. So Peakalytics isn't quite as useful in that regard. But it is still good to know kind of like browse through the Pokemon, kind of see what others are running. So I kind of have a better idea of like what I could expect weaknesses on my own team to be. I think as well to get teams. Speaking of being a team stealer, VGC Pastes on Twitter is a very, very valuable resource. So there's repository updates that have just docs of teams and like it's teams that have it's all the information. This goes past regulations as well. Like this is very, very intense and well done. But it will name like the team that the tournament that the team did well in. It shows the entire team, all the items, all the terras. It'll show a Pokepaste, and if they do have a version of the team that has the EVs, it'll post that one as well. And if they do get a version of the team that has EVs, then somebody on the team makes a paste that people makes a rental that people can use in game as well, which is just absolutely incredible. So it's like you can go through and they updated like 150 like teams or something to like already kick off. And there is a lot of teams that do in fact have Pokepastes and like with rentals and stuff. Like looking through, there is a decent amount. It'll show what place they got, the link to the source. So it's like people like they'll go through Twitter and find this stuff or people will send it to them. Like it is like looking through it, I am constantly just baffled at the amount of work that's being like put into this. Like it's incredible. This is actually such an insanely valuable resource, especially if you're not too great at team building, to be able to kind of test things out, see what's good. And like these aren't gimmick or bad teams either. Like these are strong teams and like a wide variety of them too.
Yeah, I love VGC pace. Like I use it especially at the beginning of new formats. Like here we are now. Like you see how other people are using teams and trying to get inspiration. And the rental code is like the greatest thing in the world because at that point, like you can go on to Battle Stadium, you can actually try out the teams. Like I
Oh,
know
they have the Dugong Gloom team. Sorry to cut
Oh,
you
they
off,
do?
but
Nice, nice, nice.
that is super important to say. So,
Right. So
yeah.
like if you're following the conversations or you see a team does well at a regional and they put it on there, like I think it's a great resource. My only gripe with VGC Pace is like at the beginning of sort of Scarlet and Violet, I really wanted me and Gabby's Regulation A Armors and Deity team on it because like Gabby went 6-3 in a tour, and we had the Wolf Invitational where Box was Gabby was was Box's coach, and he made the finals in the event. So I felt like there was merit to the team qualifying to be on the VGC Pace list because there's hundreds of names anyway. Who cares if you just added one more slot? That's my only gripe with VGC Pace. I feel like our team was pretty good and could have been on there. But one thing, I don't know what we use now, and things are different with Terra, but it was a thing that Gabby's crew, they used to have this website. It was like called like Team Magma something, and then there was another version of it which was about it like showed you in live in real time what your team's attacks and weaknesses and resistances were for all your moves. So like I use this a bunch in Gen 6. So like you'd put your 6 Pokemon in. Let's say you put Chalk, right? All 6 Chalk Pokemon or whatever. And it would show you, okay, well, Kangaskhan is just normal. Landorus is ground flying. Cresselia is just psychic. Heatran's fire steel. So it would show you all of your weaknesses like in front of you in the moment. You're like, ooh, as your team building, like, man, I have I have 3 flying weaknesses, but I also have 2 flying resistances, so maybe I'm okay with that. Or then if you put a Ferrothorn in there, you're like, ooh, I have this 4 times fire weakness, so maybe I should get rid of these other Pokemon that are also weak to fire. So like, it was really good for team building to know what your synergies were and to see like what your active threats were from opposing teams. Like in it's hard to explain without the website up, but like you can literally see it right in front of you. Like you don't have to wait till it's too late, but oh, I'm so weak to steel on this team. Like it tells you right there, this 6 Pokemon core, you're going to have a bad time against steel types. And it also works offensively too. I'm sure you can find it online. It's called like Type Chart something. Like if you do Pokemon VGC Type Chart Simulator or something like that, where if you put all 4 of your moves in it it showed you all of your offensive coverage too. So you could be like, oh, okay, I'm missing a water attack on this team, or oh, I have 4 fire attacks on this team. I can probably get rid of one of those for a rock slide or something like that. And I used to use that website all the time. If anyone can find it again, because I forget what it was.
We'll just have to ask Gabby.
Yeah. I know I know the Team Magma one hasn't been updated because like it's been a while, and like I don't know how Terastallization changes the dynamic of how those websites interact, but I used to use it all the time back in Gen 6 and Gen 7.
Okay. Before I move on to the next like super like valuable thing, I do want to make like one asterisk to my comment about VGC Pace where I was like, oh, it's not really meme teams. I will say that because we're going for quantity of teams, that some of them, like, they're not built to be memey, but maybe not the same caliber of team as you would expect showing up at like a top cut or a regional. So like this will include like smaller like grassroots stuff, like the in-game ladder, like just things that people have tweeted out and shared, which also you're great that you said that you had that they didn't do the team. Like, did you not send it to them? Because like looking through this, there is a lot of like,
they might be more open now, the team? A year and a half later is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of these that are like, oh, like we got this from a tweet, or like somebody DM'd us and just sent us this team to include.
Yeah, no, we tried. I mean,
okay.
I'm saying they might be more open now because before it was back in the start of Violet, it was like this online winner, this online winner, this winner, this winner, this regional, San Diego, like this top 4 at San Diego, this top 8 at Orlando, whatever. Like it was a little harder back then to get your team on there, but maybe I just failed. Maybe I talked to the wrong people, and it's on me. My my grudges for no reason.
All right, next super good resource. But then this was included in the question, but the Nerd of Now like a damage calculator, like Oh my gosh, I am a bot when it comes to things like stats and etc. And the amount of like pre-built sets, and you can do like only like custom sets that like you built and stuff, just like to quickly get an idea of whether something should live a hit, whether it'll survive. Like it's such a great tool. Like well, team building especially, like doing different calcs through that to know what you should have as like your defense stat or your special defense is so nice. Like this is definitely like a yeah, maybe if you're just more so beginning on your VGC journey, like maybe this is one that it's like, oh, once you've hit like X threshold, then start using this. Like don't start overcomplicating things for yourself off the rip. But if you are a numbers type person, or you're at the point of the game where you think you're like decent enough, but you're like, oh, like I just go off of vibes, like definitely like check out the Nerd of Now damage calc. It is so good.
Yeah, and like using Nerd of Now in unison with Picolytics makes a lot of sense because Picolytics also shows you the most common EV spreads on Pokemon. So be like, oh, 14% of Shadow Rider use like this exact 252 special attack speed spread or whatever, but then other Pokemon that are like more balanced, like a Porygon or a Moongus, you're gonna have way more different options, right? For like even like I use it for Farigiraf all the time too. Like, oh, what's like a good Farigiraf set that's got like a lot of bulk, but it's at least it's modest, so there's a little bit of a hit behind it. Like so, you can use them in unison. But my last answer, Sierra, it's a bit of a joke, but it's also kind of legit. Okay, are you familiar with the Pokemon Name Rater website?
No.
Okay, so have you ever tried to Google like a Pokemon, like you catch a shiny and you can't think of a nickname or something for it, so like you Google Infernape nickname or something like that on Google, and then you see what other people on Reddit or other websites have come up with for good nicknames for those Pokemon. I use it all the time when I'm nicknaming Pokemon, and like it's fun because if I don't have a good nickname, other people have come up with one. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Then I'll just nickname my Pokemon that. But also it's fun because sometimes people have awful nicknames and you're like, there's no shot I would ever name my Infernape that. So the Pokemon name, if you just Google Pokemon Name Rater, like give me a Pokemon, Sierra. Give me a Pokemon. We'll look it up.
Torkoal.
Okay, we're gonna go Torkoal.
Because I still have the best Torkoal nickname of all times that I've used at a regional.
Oh my god, why is this not working? Hold on, 1 second. Well, Pokemon name, I'll do it off of Google. For some reason, it's not. Okay. The best, I don't know why, the number one nickname is Old Smoky. Like, OL, like, little thing, Smoky. Mine Turtle, Tommy, Raphael. Raphael's going right, Ninja Turtles there, I think. Meltdown, that's a badass Torkoal nickname. Meltdown, go. You know what I mean? Like, Evil Farts is a nickname that somebody put on there.
I don't know. I nicknamed mine Big Mama because it was an extra large Torkoal, and it was a great nickname. I don't know.
I don't know if Big Mama matches Evil Farts, but
No, dude. I roll up to the regional. I have the Torkoal plushie. I put it down, and then Big Mama keeps going for fissures. Like it was amazing. It was a good vibe. It was a good vibe. But like I don't know. With nicknames, it's like I don't know.
I'm not a good nickname, but that's why I need help.
But like, I don't know. I feel like the more thought you put into the nickname, sometimes the worse it is. Like, my Flutter name is named Bestie, and then my Urshifu is Lil Bro, and then it's like, one was like, the Indeedee was Big Sis. Like, I don't know. It's just like, they're just stupid nicknames, but it's just like funny. My Landorus is named Matt because I let somebody use it for Worlds, and it was from Pogo, so I can't trade it back to reset the nickname. So I now have like Matt the Landorus.
Hot Dog Heatran.
Hot Dog the Heatran's a legend. Yeah, but like, see, those are like, you wouldn't get those from the website, so.
No, that's fair. I just think it's fun, like, if you're looking for inspiration, because I'm not a nickname person like you, with like, where you say like Bestie or like something that's not a name. Like, when I nickname things, I name it a name, you know what I mean? Like I'll name my Garchomp Kevin or something. Like I don't name it like a not actual noun of a name.
I gotta say, my last resource for more VGC stuff. This is a little bit more on like the casual like end-ish of things, but I love using this as a resource. Bulbapedia. And I know that, like, there's maybe some people out there that's like, is this really VGC? But it's like, Bulbapedia has all the information about a Pokemon. So it's, first off, I am not great with my type chart. I was a TCG player. I have tried. For anyone that's like, oh no, you don't really try, I have tried. It's just ain't it. So
fighting beats lightning, you know?
Yeah, so it's definitely a but regardless, it shows the type charts. It will say weak to, immune to, resisted, damage normally, all that, has all the stats, all the moves that I can learn at any single point. And I usually normally do it for like the type effectiveness thing. But across the board, like I just think it's like a fantastic site. Like some of like the split, like the dual typings you get, it's like, oh, I don't know. And then it's just like a really quick, like, look, oh, Amoonguss, weak to, yep. All right, done. Easy. I've pulled it up while casting while I've like not been positive on a call. I'm just like, I'm pretty sure this is like weak to this. And instead of looking at the chart, I just like pull up Bulbapedia and I look real fast and I'm like, yeah, perfect.
That's so funny to me because like I think Bulbapedia has like, it's almost Wikipedia levels, obviously, in the name, like of just too much information at once, and it's hard for me to find stuff. And then they have like every anime reference of the Pokemon and all this stuff, and I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm trying to figure out how this move works and stuff. So I use PokemonDB.net. That's my thing. That I use it casting. I use it all the time. Like, so I feel like there's two different schools there. Like, I'll be like DB Tyranitar, DB Extra DB Swampert, DB, you know, for Alligator, whatever. Like, and like I immediately look it up first thing, and I look through and it has all its moves, like just like Bulbapedia of every generation and stuff. And I feel like the Pokemon DB, I don't know, the way it's displayed, the information is clearer in my brain than Bulbapedia, where I get like tripped up on Bulbapedia.
I only just scroll right to the bottom. I like look right at the chart and it's just like, is effective or isn't? And it's like, Bulbapedia, but like I don't know, maybe just like because like I've heard conflicting things too, whereas other people are like, yeah, I love Bulbapedia, and others say that like other things are easier to read. Like I think it's just kind of like what you start with, and then like once you're kind of used to one, is like that's the one you're used to, like that's it. Like I don't know,
I started with DB.
I just like and I started Bulbapedia, and it's like, oh, this works perfect, so let's go.
Hopefully, we inform some of our viewers.
Yeah, there's a couple of like nerdier ones. I forget what it's called. I always forget it when I need it. But like there's one that if you're competing at tournaments, specifically like getting into more top cut and resistance scenarios, that'll kind of like display the resistances and stuff. So if you're not getting top cut at an event, it doesn't really help you out. Trying to think of any others offhand, but I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's like confusing me also. The one with we always check and see like the chances of people if they're gonna bubble or not. You know, and that one always
it doesn't confuse me. I can just never find it when I need it. But I think with that, we are good for this week's episode. So any final thoughts, any final words from you?
Yeah, I was trying to look up a Slitherwing nickname on Google here just to see if like anything comes up, and like I don't know, some of them are like it's like, oh, it's Mothra, and like, you know, some of the other obvious normal Volcarona style things. Someone named it Achilles. Achilles is kind of cool because it's a badass character, like Slitherwing school. And
I was thinking like Achilles heel.
Well, they are one and the same. Fun fact. That's what it's named after, Achilles.
Oh.
Do you not know the story?
No.
Do you not know why it's Achilles' heel?
No.
So okay, all right. I'm not gonna go too long on it. He was a god. He was in Pentrol. His mom, as a baby, dipped him in this water. It's like an old, you know, whatever Greek story or whatever. And his mom dipped him in this like water of invulnerability or something. It was like Zeus made it special or whatever, right? So like that way, Achilles was impenetrable. He was unkillable. It's like his whole body was just like, he's the man. He's the greatest. So he goes out and fights every war ever. He's played by Brad Pitt in the movie. Like he's super awesome. He's super handsome. He just kills everyone. Everyone loves Achilles. But the mom dipped him And the one part of his leg that did not get hit by the water of the invulnerability or whatever, lack of a better word, was his Achilles, was his heel. And at the end of the story, he gets betrayed and shot by an arrow in the heel. The one part where he was not safe. So that's why they call it your Achilles heel, your ultimate downfall, the thing that you were not prepared to be losing from.
I've learned today.
You learned today.
I learned. I also learned, too, that I can stay a lot more invested in a story when there isn't numbers being thrown out. So, double learning. Double learning.
Troy is it's like from 2004. I think it's like 2.5 hours. I know you don't like movies, but Brad Pitt's in it. All right, like it's a great movie.
It's you lost me at 2.5 hours. You double lost me at Brad Pitt. But thank you all so much for listening to this episode of OHKO. If you're traveling to Indy, safe travels. Best of luck at the event. If you're not, hopefully you enjoy the broadcast. Everything else going on. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck with your Reg G battles, and we'll see you all next week.